All right, welcome back. We're going to get into Google Analytics now as part of our domain level audit. So first things we're going to do, we're going to jump in and record number of landing pages with greater than one organic visit. We're going to also pull the number of index pages that we pulled in the first step, and then we're going to record the top 5 organic landing pages over the last 90 days. And those are the first things we're going to do. So let's jump in to Google Analytics and let's look at the bpp.com site. So the first thing we want to know is how many landing pages are getting greater than one organic visit. So we're going to go to the behavior, site content, landing pages report, and we're going to add a secondary dimension here, and that secondary dimension is going to be medium. Okay, and then we're going to go into the advanced filters here, and we're going to include medium containing organic. Okay, so essentially we're saying all we want to see is the organic traffic. Now, organic stands for essentially search. So let's take a look at this report. So we have the landing pages report, all organic here. Okay, so we're looking at nothing but organic traffic. Over the last 30 days, we see 19 pages here listed that have greater than one organic visit. All right, so let's jump into our audit. 19 pages. Now we remember that if we go back up here into our first step, number of pages indexed, 85. Okay, we're going to need that number later. Okay, now we're going to go in as well and record the top 5 organic landing pages. So let's go back to here. All right, so these are my top 5 pages. Generally, you're going to see your home page as the first result, but not always. Like in this case, we actually get more search traffic going to a page about a particular bike ride called Ragbri, which is actually one of the largest bike rides in the world, organized bicycle rides in the world. So not too concerning. I like to see that homepage up in the top 5, and it's usually the first result, but not always. And this looks pretty good. I'm not shocked by any of the top 5 results, but what I would do is go in here and record each URL in here. Okay, what are the top 5? And that will help me to start understanding, like, what are my big pages. Generally speaking, depending on how many pages you have, you're going to see a major drop off. It's the 80-20 rule. It's the 90-10 rule. That you're going to see a very few pages are actually driving most of your search traffic. You can see that once I get past my top 5 or 6 here, it really drops off fast down to 34 here. And generally speaking, depending on the size of your site, you're going to find that 10% of your pages are driving 90% of your search traffic, or 5% are driving 95% or 100, whatever. So you're going to find that a very few pages usually are driving the majority of your search results, and it's a good idea to go in here in your audit and take a look at what pages are doing that. Now, the next thing we want to do in this audit is we want to decide whether we see signs of index bloat. So remember what I talked about earlier when we did the site colon, that it's actually a really really a problem if Google is indexing a tremendous amount of pages on your site that have zero value. And the way you know they have, whether you're having this problem is whether or not you have a skewed ratio here of indexed pages to pages with more than one visit. So I'm seeing approximately a 4-to-1 ratio here. So I have 85 pages indexed, or 85 pages in the index, and I have 19 pages with more than one organic visit over the last 30 days. There's probably an index bloat issue. We don't want to see really more than 2-to-1 ratio, but really more like 1.5-to-1 ratio. We want to get that index down to a level where you're as close to 1-to-1 as possible. Like every page in the index gets some search traffic over the course of a month. Because if you're not getting any search traffic to a page that is in the index, it's an indication that the page is of low quality and low value, at least in Google's eyes. They're not sending you any traffic to that page. So it's probably a good idea to at least consider getting it out of the index and getting it removed from the index. So take a look at the number of landing pages with more than one visit as compared to the number of pages that Google has indexed. If you're seeing more than like 2-to-1, you're probably in the concerning range where you're like, I need, part of this project, this SEO project needs to be reducing the number of pages in the index. Okay, second thing in Google Analytics, we want to check organic traffic trends over the last 12 months. Are we seeing drastic increases or decreases? All right, so let's jump into Google Analytics, and we're going to go to the acquisition reports, all traffic channels report. Okay, and then we are just going to look at organic search. And I like to look for this, if I'm looking for long-term trends, I want to go back at least a year or, sometimes as far back as my analytics will allow me to go and take a look. All right, so this isn't tremendously useful, this particular graph right here. It's actually, when you're looking at long ranges of data in Google Analytics or really any analytics platform, it's better to look at weekly and maybe even monthly to see real trends. So what I'm seeing here monthly is that I see a spike in July, right? And I see a spike here in January. Let's actually go back and see if I can get back even 2 years and see whether this looks more seasonal. Okay, so spike in July, spike in July, spike in January, spike in January. This looks kind of seasonal. This looks very normal to me. That, this is a biking business. I see interest seems to start increasing as we come out of the winter, and then waning as we get back into the fall. And so I see spikes at the normal places. I see spikes right after the new year, which may indicate that people are getting excited about the new year and what bicycle tours they're going to take this year. So these look like seasonal spikes. What you don't want to see is big gaps and drop-offs that can't be easily explained by things like seasonality, or, things like the website went offline, for maybe you got hacked and the site was down for a week or 10 days or 2 weeks or a month, and so it's like, absolutely there's going to be an issue there. Or, you changed up the analytics, or, something happened. And what you want to do when you get things like that and what happened is you want to add annotations into your Google Analytics. So you want to go in here and you want to say create new annotation. You want to put, let's just say we want to put something on January 1st here that says, promotion from bike .com magazine or something like that, which tells us that, one of the reasons we saw such a spike in search traffic here was that we got a big promo that went out, and you can save that, and that will populate in here, and you'll be able to, open that up. It's actually right here. So you can see my little bubble right here is this little note for me inside analytics that tells me something went on here. And, actually over at Digital Marketer and some of our other properties, we use these notes a lot, so whenever something significant happens, we'll try to note that in our analytics so that everybody can kind of see what's going on in there. And it tells you who created the note and so forth. All right, so that's another thing to do, is to take a look at as long a stretch as you can. Look monthly, look weekly, and see if you see any sort of strange trends in your search traffic over a long period of time. If you do, make notes of that. All right. Now, let's jump back into our document here. So organic traffic trends. The other thing you want to be thinking about with these major traffic trends is whether or not these things coincide with major algorithm updates. So you might have saw, a major increase or decrease in traffic after a big, Google update. And you can actually, the Google updates, the big ones, are very well documented in terms of when they went out. So things like panda, penguin, hummingbird, when those major shifts first took place, did you see major, increases or decreases? If so, what was it that you got either punished or rewarded for? Read about that update, find out what panda was and what penguin was, or what hummingbird is, or what any upcoming algorithm shifts are, and see if you can figure out why you either got more traffic or less. Quite frankly, a lot of sites that I've seen, got really, hammered by panda or penguin, or, and you saw basically just fall off a cliff, trends inside of this report right here. You just see their search traffic just drop right off, and that's an indication that you need to change the way that you're marketing. So another thing to be checking at this stage is whether or not Google Analytics is missing from any pages. You can use a site like gachecker.com. It's a free tool. I'm trying to give you as many free tools as possible in this section, rather than trying to force you to have to buy tools. gachecker.com will check your site for missing Google Analytics code, and goes without saying, if Google Analytics is missing from your pages, it's not registering in your Google Analytics. So make sure that we run your site through there. Another thing to check at this stage is whether your Google Analytics code is on other people's sites. Okay, now this sounds crazy, but in fact, if someone puts your Google Analytics code on their website, it's going to start registering in your Google Analytics. And your Google Analytics code is, right there in your code to be seen. So it happens more than you would think. And so you can go in and go to the Audience Technology Network host name report. All right. So that's a handful there, but let's go into the audience reports. Let's go into technology. Let's go into network, and let's go into, let's look at host name as your primary dimension. And you should see only your host name, which, bubbasPamperPeddlers.com. But what you'll probably see is a couple of cases where there's some strange stuff in here, like forwebmasters.org. That's somebody that has our Google Analytics code for whatever reason, they scraped our site, or whatever happened, they ended up, at least for a brief amount of time, with our analytics code on their site. We have this problem at Digital Marketer a lot, because people tend to scrape our designs and our landing pages and blog posts and things like that. And sometimes they scrape up, along with the content, they scrape up the code for the Google Analytics. They put it on their site, and then we have to go in and actually query that out, and get that out of our analytics, so that it's not causing a problem. But the first thing to do is to figure out, do you have a problem with that? You can build a filter that can remove this, other host names from your hosting. I won't go into all that here. It's fairly technical filter, but not terribly difficult once somebody shows you how to do it. But again, the idea behind this audit is to identify problems and then find the technical solutions for those problems once you've identified them. Most people are not going to have a major issue with this, but some of you will. And if you jump in here and you look in this Audience Technology Network host name report, and you find somebody's scraped up your analytics, and they're sending you enough traffic to make your data wrong, you're going to want to do something about that. All right, so go ahead and make notes in these remarks, and let's move on and start talking about the sitemap.